Let me hear you say ba 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 da ba ba, ba 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 da ba ba, ba 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 da. Ba 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 da ba ba, ba 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 da ba ba, ba 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 da ba ba, ba dum ba dum. Crazy at this thing of love, just what I've been dreaming of. And I can never figure out, oh, how you do the things you do. That's why I'm so in love with you. I like the way you make me smile. Boy, you give me butterflies. And when I look into your eyes, I'll see the future, me and you. That's why I wrote this song for you. Want you to know what I think of you. L-O-V-E-Y-O-U. Baby, you've got what it takes to make your girl say L-O-V-E-Y-O-U. If I met you in another life and you asked me to be your wife, with grace and a smile I say, yeah, always now and forever. You be my one and only lover. Cause I like the way you make me smile. Boy, you give me butterflies. And when I look into your eyes, I'll see the future, me and you. That's why I wrote this song for you. Want you to know what I think of you. L-O-V-E-Y-O-U. Baby, you've got what it takes to make your girl say L-O-V-E-Y-O-U. Ba 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 da ba ba, ba 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 da ba ba, ba 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 da. Ba 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 da ba ba.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Tony Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson. This morning, I'm in Seacom on Thornton Avenue at Sarcastic Suites. I'm here with the proprietor. Ma'am, could you introduce yourself to us and tell us how long you've been here?
So, my name is Nina Reed. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, but I've had the store here in I had it based in Rhode Island for 10 years, where I had my food truck, and this is our first year in Seekonk, Massachusetts, so we've been here for a full year as of August 19th.
So tell us about Sarcastic Suites.
So, what to tell you about Sarcastic Suites? We started out as a food truck. We do custom orders, cakes, weddings, pickups, deliveries, birthday parties, colleges, fundraisers, churches, very important to me. We do all of those types of events, but then we were finally able to get a store through a lot of savings and fundraising and things like that here in Seekonk, Massachusetts. So we still service Rhode Island quite a bit, but we also service a lot of Massachusetts. And we have the bakery portion, which is Sarcastic Sweets, and the Alaska Treehouse portion of things, which is the breakfast, lunch, smoothies, cafe portion of things. So you can come in and do your work like an internet cafe, or you can have breakfast with your family or lunch. We do breakfast all day because in Alaska you can have breakfast any time of the day. Any time of the day could be breakfast. Pastries, movie, special orders.
This is fantastic. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tony Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. Woke up this morning to make the upper 40 degrees in Providence, Rhode Island. I don't know where it's going to take us, but I know I didn't see any precipitation. Maybe sunny and cloudy. No precipitation. But anyway, remember, take heed and govern yourselves accordingly. Tie yourselves to your seat. We got seat belts. And make sure you buckle in. Take heed and govern yourselves accordingly. Today, I have a very special guest on my show this morning, and she is Miss Annie Hillary. I will bring her on after my break and another ad. And we'll talk about our relationship, African Americans, Americo-Liberians, Africans. We got plenty to talk about. So we started this discussion a few videos ago. I've had two people now to talk about this issue, and Miss Hillary is my third. So let's take a break, do an ad, then she'll be on for us to get it on. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tony Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. Today, I'm at Kebe's African restaurant on the other side of Providence. And she is right here. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Kebe McCann.
Now, Kebe has been here for a while, and this is one of our Liberian restaurants. So, Kebe, tell us how long you've been in this spot and why you decided to get into business.
I've been in this spot for 14 years now. I decided to open this restaurant because of helping people, going out and feeding the homeless, and we need a place where the food is cooked. And I opened this restaurant. Since then, I'm still at the same place, 850 Admiral Street.
So how has the community responded to your effort?
Well, the community has responded greatly to my efforts. I do successful feed the homeless, and people have embraced the business, and it led me to move forward to Liberia to open an orphanage for children in Liberia.
Wow, you have an
All
orphanage?
from this restaurant.
You kidding me?
And because of the customer has been very nice to me and loyal to me, I was able to go to Liberia 3 weeks ago and open an orphanage in my late mother's name, Eugenia Bright.
Wow. Where is the orphanage?
In New Jersey, Liberia.
Wow. So what message do you have for your customers?
Well, my customers are very loyal to me, and they are very faithful. They always help me when we're doing the backpack giveaway for children every year, which will soon be coming down end of the month. And then we give the food away, the turkey and chicken in November. And because of the customer, all the tips they leave and all the encouragement help me to promote this business and do what I'm doing moving forward. So I love my customers, I love my neighbors, and I love everybody in general.
We thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you, and God bless you too.
Thank you too. Let the people see the delicious food you're fixing
Okay,
here.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. good to be back. Now let me bring my guest on so she can introduce herself. Miss Annie Hillary. How are you, Annie?
Good morning, Rodney. How are you? I'm good.
Welcome to Attorney Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show.
Thank you.
Well, you know what we're going to talk about. And before we start our interview and discussion, I would like to play this message that I made. Although people have seen it, it hasn't been played for a while. So before we start our discussion, this will give us the background to our discussion, the relationship between African Americans, Africans, and all Americo-Liberians. So let's listen to this. Then you can introduce yourself and we'll get on with the program. Okay?
Okay.
Good morning, my African American and Americo-Liberian people. Welcome to Attorney Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. We, as a people, have dealt in ignorance, backwardness, and failure to know who we are and what we are to each other for too long. Liberia was a nation that was founded by African Americans who believed in their own abilities, their own strengths, and their own direction. They left these shores and went to Africa amid the different issues and problems that we had among ourselves in this nation. We left and went to Liberia to set up a new nation for ourselves and our posterity. But in doing so, it caused much stress to our race and our people of the United States of America. We fought each other intellectually, physically, and spiritually against colonization and separation of our people from these shores of the United States of America. Despite what eventually occurred for us to leave this nation, it happened. And for nearly 200 years, we stayed in Africa fighting to build a nation that we could call our own. And today, despite our shortcomings and our shortfalls, many of us have returned to the United States of America for a hopeful life and new beginnings. And while we are here, it is very important that African Americans and Americo-Liberians set aside our differences, our idiosyncrasies, and come together to forge a better understanding of each other, a better need to assist each other here and in Africa, and a better direction for all of our posterity. My class this morning will start the spreading of this message to African Americans and Americo-Liberians in this nation so that we can come together and understand the greater purpose of our need for unity, progress, and advancement amongst ourselves here in America and on the African continent in the Republic of Liberia. Welcome to my show. Please pay attention, and I hope that you will make comments that will create a better understanding as I explain the issues of our group, our nations in Liberia and in America, and what we hope to achieve through this meeting. I thank you for listening, and I hope that when you leave here today, you leave with a better understanding of why we need to create a better sense of unity, solidarity, and understanding between African Americans and American Liberians. I thank you. We'll be right back.
dedicated to cooking from the soul. We've been here for a year and a few days actually, and this is the spot that you want to come to when you want to indulge in great soul food. Here we offer collard greens, baked macaroni and cheese, we have the fish and grits, shrimp and grits on Sundays of course, and a lot of other soul food norms added with a little bit of our fusion. Chef Summer Duffin is the chef in the kitchen, and just come on down and check us out. You will not regret it.
Well, it's good to be back with my guest, Miss Annie Hillary. Annie?
Hi, Rodney.
We're back.
Yeah.
So, Annie, kind of briefly tell us about yourself. Let me set my camera up better. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Rodney, I spent 30 years in a career in coastal and ocean management, and I had a focus on collaborative and adaptive approaches to coastal issues, supporting resilience and sustainability. I'm currently retired, and I busy myself through volunteer work in gardens and working with environmental groups in my hometown.
Well, I mean, Annie, you just saying that short about yourself, but you got a big background there now. Yeah. Annie is a Harvard graduate, right?
Well, I was a Loeb Fellow at the Harvard School of Design.
Yeah, and Brown graduate.
And a Brown graduate.
Yes, yeah. And she's done a lot of work in environmental and oceanic studies.
Yes, and I've had work in both Africa and the Caribbean as part of my portfolio of activities.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons it's good to have people like you on the show to talk about this relationship. So what do you think about, do you have any African friends, relatives, first of all?
Well, Rodney, you know, as an African American, I am a descendant of Africa. Through my research in my genealogy, I learned that I originate from Sierra Leone, based on the research that I've done. I have friends throughout the diaspora, and I think that's very important. And a lot of those friendships have been both professional friendships and folks that I've met along the way, including yourself.
That's good. So how do you feel about this relationship we talk about that I mentioned, not only between American Liberians and African Americans, but just basically African Americans and Africans? How do you view it, and how would you describe it?
Well, Rodney, I think it's a very complex issue. I think when you discuss this issue, you have to look at colonization, enslavement, and today's injustices. And again, I think that looking at it in the context of the diaspora and recognizing that we all share a common bond, that gives us a better understanding to reach out and look for opportunities to collaborate. Um, and I believe that for me, that has been the focus, and it has allowed me to have opportunities in my career to work in Africa and the Caribbean, is a deep seated appreciation for that history.
Wow. So, I mean, how would you describe this relationship now?
Well, for me, it's been a professional relationship through my work primarily. And I personally think that this relationship is a relationship of uh, history, um, the recognition that we are all part of diaspora, as I mentioned, and also that we have a common bond.
Often we talk about, you hear African and African Americans, even other people talk about this great divide among Black people. And it's not only among Africans and African Americans, it exists throughout our race. So, how would you, I mean, you say you deal with Black Africans mostly on a professional level. Have you experienced this divide?
Say that again, Rodney.
Have you experienced this divide?
I can't say that I have. In fact, I don't share the notion that there is this great divide based on my experience. While I cannot speak on the political drivers, I can attest that I have a long-standing historical context for collaboration with African nations through my work, and I continue to um, have this notion that, and I feel redundant in saying this, that we are all part of this diaspora. And I think that I can speak as an African American, that, as I mentioned, that my life's journey has been part of recognition of this notion of the diaspora. Um, and this comes from not only growing up and being exposed to different cultures, but also my experience. As you mentioned, I am a Brown graduate, and I was heavily influenced by one professor there who actually began the whole discussion around the diaspora, that really stuck with me throughout my career and my life. And um, I would say that most African Americans that I know are very supportive, and do have interactions with the continent of Africa in various countries. I
Do
have
you,
written
do you,
to,
you remember that professor?
yeah, his name was Anani Dejanio.
That's who I would think of.
Yeah, he was a very powerful influence on my life and the courses that I took from him.
His soul was in peace. He just passed recently.
Yes, he passed a few years ago. Yeah. But I mean, he really set the stage in making me realize the connection that, as an African American, I do have with Africa, the continent of Africa, and the countries. And, it has guided me throughout my professional career to try to work in countries in Africa. I worked in South Africa, I worked in Mozambique. I did a lot of work internationally where I looked to create opportunities to have partnerships with various African countries. And when there was an opportunity to bring African countries into the work that I was doing, I was very aggressive in pursuing those initiatives because it supported a need that was faced in environmental concerns in various countries.
We were talking last night, and we were talking about the same issue. And you were telling me that this relationship has been there for a long time. and you were coming from the academia perspective. So can you reiterate that?
Um,
How the colleges, black colleges, and African leaders.
right. Yeah. One of the things, and while I didn't graduate from a HBCU, I do realize from just some brief research that I did to look at the connections between the historically black colleges and universities with the continent. Um, Historically, there are great ties between African Americans and African countries that were established through the HBCUs in educating the leaders of many of the African countries, and also through the church organization and government organizations, foundations, and philanthropists. You know, we have historically forged these relationships and alliances to support one another. And I would like to just illustrate the fact that the HBCUs continue to work with government agencies in countries in providing education to many African country citizens. So I think they're very, very strong ties. And I would argue that this is a myth that the relationship between African Americans and African countries exists. It's been my experience that there's been long-standing relationships, and we must continue to foster those relationships and build others as needs arise.
Yeah, so you're saying this whole idea about this divide is a myth.
From my perspective and where I sit, I have not experienced that divide.
Yeah, because when we're talking yesterday, you brought a totally different perspective. Because I mean, that's why it was above my head, right? We common people talking about, the great divide and all of that, and you came from a different perspective that I wasn't even thinking about the college area, how schools have always collaborated. The historical black institutions have always been collaborating with African leaders and accepting African students on scholarship and things like that. But that perspective is a perspective we don't talk about most of the time, that you brought in. Because when people talk about the divide, they're not looking at how we collaborate on the academia stage, but they just look at our everyday lives in the common areas. But
Right.
that was a different perspective. That's why I wanted you to just give us a greater view of what you were talking, because it blew my mind.
Right. Well, as mentioned, I did not I only know it through personal conversation and just doing some preliminary thinking around this. And I also would want to point out too that the faith-based community has always been engaged in African countries to support social issues, um, community-based issues. So I think that they're very, very strong ties, and those ties continue. I have a number of friends who are disgusted with the politics of America, and they're looking to take their expertise and move back to Africa. I mean, this is a conversation that a lot of people are having now because they want to make a difference. They want to live somewhere where they feel that they can contribute to the growth of the continent. So, I mean, I just don't see that divide in my life experience.
Yeah, and we've even talked about similar thing. You talk about going back to Africa and contributing, especially for retirees who just have nothing to do right now and need some fun. Go back to Africa and
I
teach.
don't think they're just going back for fun. I think they're going back because
I mean, going back to
a
teach, you do
difference in
something.
their lives. I
Yeah.
think fun is a sidebar, Rodney.
Well, where there's sun, there's always fun. So, I mean, yeah. So, what is your message before we end this interesting conversation? What message do you have for young viewers who looking for something to hang on to, because you have a wealth of knowledge, experience, education, and that needs to be imparted to other people as well. I mean, you try to do it, but sometimes you don't reach everybody that you need to reach. And this is one medium through which you have the opportunity to say what you want to say to my peoples.
Right. Well, I think we have to continue to seek opportunities and learn from each other. And when possible, work together. This is not a one-way street. I think that we can learn from Africa as much as Africa can learn from the United States and the experience of African Americans. I think we need to continue to partner and design opportunities where we can bring our various experiences and expertise together. Um, this is an ongoing effort, and that's the way we are able to work together, from my perspective.
And looking at your profession and things, and considering what's happening in my country right now, I don't know if you're involved with seeing, following what's going on in Liberia. Right now, beside the politics now, we have a lot of flooding. Oh, the flooding is terrible. The ocean is coming in and eating up the soil and taking up our land. I think we talked about that one time, and because that's the area you're specialized in too, right?
Right. And I just did a brief internet review to look at how coastal issues are being addressed in Liberia. And I found in my brief research that there is activity there to develop an integrated coastal zone management program. I don't know the details of that. I didn't have time to really investigate that fully. But I think it's efforts like that where we can bring to bear resources of the U.S. African American community and throughout the diaspora. I think there's a lot of opportunities to reach out to countries in the Caribbean who have gone through the process of creating coastal management programs. Use HBCUs, a number of HBCUs, Howard and Morgan, both have planning programs. I think there's a lot of opportunities to create some discussions and look how we can better support one another in issues like flooding and coastal management, and also fisheries. I think the fisheries issue throughout Africa is a big issue, and maintaining those fisheries resources. So I see this really as a significant opportunity for reaching out and creating collaborative programming. But, I'm not in that business professionally anymore, but that would be my message, that these synergies can and do exist amongst African Americans and the continent.
So you say you did a paper on Liberia, the coastal issue on
No,
Liberia
no, no, no. I didn't. I did an internet research to see,
research.
was Liberia, in fact, looking at coastal management issues. And I saw a report that I just briefly looked at, where, in fact, that activity is um, going on there.
I don't know. Yes, our fishing industry is beginning to pick up a little bit, and we're hearing good news about it here and there. But that whole area is suffering from the depletion of fish because of foreign fishing in ships coming in and just coming in by the masses and just taking up all the fish and taking them abroad to sell. So I mean, there was a problem in Senegal recently. I think that's when I talk about it. Did we talk about that? I don't know if that's when we talk about it, but that was a big issue in Senegal. All the fish gone from the ocean
That's a
because
worldwide issue.
yeah,
And
not the,
overfishing is a huge issue in throughout the world. And there are management regimes that can be put in place outside of my area of expertise. But, I think that there are economic and political issues associated with fishing globally.
Well, is there anything else you got to say?
Now, I believe in hope, and I think that hope allows us to look to the future in an optimistic way. And I think that the notion of the divide is, as I mentioned, a myth. And through hope, we can further our shared interests to collaborate and work to solve not just problems in African countries, but I think that there's an opportunity to bring some of the work that's being done in Africa to support needs that we have in our community here in the United States.
And that's just what I was talking the other day, because I was saying that right here in America right now, there are Africans sitting down here that could help in the African American community, but we need to reach out to these people too. We need to really form this collaborative effort, because Africans just sitting down, the same thing going on here, African Americans sitting down here that we can use in Africa. We got Africans sitting down here that can be working, doing things in the African community, African American community too. But they're not doing it, they think they retired too. And now I'm telling them, no, you got to go out there and find out if you can help. Because most of the time people don't know that's why we got to form this collaborative effort. Because with too many Africans here who can help African American communities excel, but we're not doing it. And we need African Americans here who need to develop an interest to go work in Africa. You don't have to live there. At least it can be a 6 months program. You go there, teach for 6 months, come back, and you have an open door to go anytime you want to go. Those kind of things those kind of collaborative efforts between and among us can help us greatly achieve things. Because when I was in Pittsburgh, there were things in the NAACP. They used to call my house, say, my man, this problem here, that problem there. And if I couldn't help them, I used to tell them, well, you need to get a lawyer, because there are certain things I couldn't do. The things that I could do, I would direct them and try to help them. But these things need to be going on in America and in Liberia, in Africa, and wherever. But
I think they are, and I think that the goal is to continue.
Yes, and augment them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you very much, Annie, and I hope our viewers learned a lot from this discussion and the ideas you brought here, because the divide is a myth, you say. And I hope we share it and do better to ensure that this myth stays a myth. And
I think everybody just has to figure out what can they do and how they can participate and find avenues to undertake their work.
Well, thank you all so much, Annie.
All right.
And we look forward to talking to you again.
All right. You have a great day, Rodney.
Thank you, Annie.
All right. Bye-bye.
Run Your Form Fitness. I do all my training here at Fit First with my cousin Jolan. I specialize in 50 and over clients with functional movement. And I do other clients too, younger groups. I do kids also, but I specialize in functional movement and working with older clients and seniors and getting them to move constantly. You gotta keep moving. If we're not moving, we're losing, team, you know what I mean? So Your Form Fitness, we started to correct people's form. When you start out with good form, you usually get good results. So come check us out at Fit First. We are at Cranston.
Connor from Fit First RI, located 1655 Elmwood Ave, Princeton, Rhode Island. We take care of all your personal training needs. We have 7 trainers here, including 2 boxing trainers. So whatever your goals, we can help you out. Come through, hit us up 401-588-9517. We are Fit First RI on Instagram and all social media platforms.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was my interview and discussion with Miss Annie Hillary. I hope you all enjoyed it. And this discussion centered around the same relationship. And it says a myth, and we shouldn't fall for it, that this great divide among African and African Americans exists is a myth. So for all of you out there who really don't know about yourselves, this is what we strive to do. We have to educate yourselves. We didn't just fall from the skies. We didn't just come out of thin air. We have a history. We have connections. Everybody in this world have a connection. We are all connected. Europeans, Chinese, Japanese, we're connected. This is one world. And we have to rise up above those mediocre thoughts and thinking and ideals and form better relationships, because there are too many things we can do for each other in this country. I told you all before, we got too many Africans sitting in this country. We got too many people out of Liberia with nursing degrees. We got doctors. We got engineers. We got too many people in this country. Some people have re-educated themselves. They have formed new professions. Some of them say they retired, they're sitting down. So this is a message to us all. We got to get up and help each other. We got to turn the hands of time and tide. We got to do things to advance our own lives. You know, we can't keep sitting out waiting for other people to give us handouts. We can't keep sitting out waiting for promises, for pledges. For what? We have the abilities to do things ourselves. And the time of the people, black people, is now. Aluta! Continue. Let's hear some more ads before I take my leave from you all today. Because I got a few more minutes, 5 or 10 more minutes. So let's hear one or two. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Tony Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson talk show. This morning, I'm at the Black Business Association. And before me is the founder and CEO, Miss Lisa Wrangling. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Chesson. Thank you so much for being here with us. We are so excited when you come through these doors. It's always so refreshing to see you and to welcome you to the Rhode Island Black Business Association. And of course, I am your awesome friend, Miss Lisa Wrangling, founder and CEO of this great organization we go by and call REBA.
Lisa, tell us about REBA.
Yeah, REBA is an organization. Can you imagine? We're going on 12 years old. Rhode Island Black Business Association was founded to create opportunities and build community through business development. And we support small businesses. We help them with access to capital, access to technical assistance for them to grow and thrive and create jobs. And we know when businesses are creating jobs, they actually hire real people. We are moving people from poverty to sustainability. It's a win-win for all of us. In addition, we offer a 7-month leadership development training program that is geared towards high-performing professionals. Again, in Rhode Island, we know that we're hearing people are saying we can't find people of color, Black and brown leaders. Well, in partnership with the University of Rhode Island and the Department of Labor and Training, we are offering a 7-month leadership development training program that is going to impact companies out there. So any company that wants to diversify their workforce, they need to connect with the Rhode Island Black Business Association. We can help them with their talent development, their pipeline program. Right now, we have over 50 professionals that will be starting in the next cohort in the fall, in October. And again, this is a program that is funded by DLT and in partnership with University of Rhode Island. We are changing the face of leadership in Rhode Island. In addition, we have several other programs. The microloan program, which grants loan anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And we have a forgivable loan program up to $5,000. You can find us on web, www.ri-bba.org, or you can call the office at 401-383-1179. We look forward to servicing you. Join us.
What message do you have for the people?
Well, we have our upcoming gala coming up October 28th. Friday, October 28th, it will be at the Omni. Tickets will go on sale. Early bird tickets will go on sale very shortly. Connect us, and we look forward to servicing you and having a good time this fall.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We look forward to talking with you again soon.
Alrighty. Take care. Stay blessed.
Bye-bye. So we know that the Black Business Association's gala is 2 Fridays from now, on the 28th. Don't forget. I can't play that every day because that's a little too long, but that's Lisa, and she won't get her message out, so she got to get her message out. But this Friday, next Friday, 28th is on a Friday this month. Make sure you attend that program and support the Black Business Association of Rhode Island. Okay? We got to support each other here. We got to get this message out, and we got to do what we got to do, because the cause of the people is now. Aluta continua. My class is done. The Tony Commander J.R. Glapohkpa Chesson class is done. Have a good day.